Welcome to another episode of the Twins Talk It Up podcast, where we discuss topics around leadership and communication. Along with my identical twin brother and co-host David Brown, we're excited to dive into these topics from unique positions as twins. From time to time, we are graced with incredible guests, leaders within their sectors who lend incredible insight from their personal experience. Joining us today are another set of awesome twins, Keisha Sumner and Kenya-Marie Farmer. Even more incredible is that Keisha and Kenya also went to an incredible Howard University, just like David and myself. Welcome, ladies. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, I am Kenya Sumner. I don't actually use my married name, so it's Kenya Sumner. A great introduction. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Yeah, I'm Kenya. Should I go into what I do and?
We can cover that in a moment.
We'll
cover that in a few moments.
But yeah, hi.
Hey everybody, so excited to be here with the twins and with my twin. My name is Keisha Sumner and I'm a holistic health coach.
Wonderful, wonderful. So ladies, tell us a little bit more about your passion and your career. What are you into nowadays?
Go ahead, Kenya.
So, like I said, thank you all for asking us to be on here. The two things that, well, let me start with this. My purpose is finding my purpose. Okay, we all have a calling. I believe that we all have a calling on our lives, and my mission is to find that and do that, so that I can exist and and give back to people and serve God. So the things that I do that I feel most passionate about may not be related to the calling necessarily, but they are the things that God has put in my heart that I'm passionate about and that inspire me. So both those things are production, television production, and health and wellness. So as a result of the years I've been in television, I've been able to become a producer. I've done like a TV producer. So I've done a show on for cable for a cable network. And I've been a segment producer for the Grammys pre-show. And so I've worked on many productions. So there's that part of my life. And then when I changed my diet to veganism about 2 or 3 years ago, like 3 years ago, that changed my life too. And as a result of that, I became a health and wellness coach, and started with a health and wellness business, and just going where I'm led to go, and praying about it along the way, because Lord knows I don't know what to do. I don't.
Thanks for sharing that. What about you, Keisha? And we'll come back to that, Kenya. What about you, Keisha?
Yeah, so this is, I'll start off again and just say thank you guys so much for, sharing this forum with the world, and then also for inviting me and Kenya to this forum with you guys. This is really amazing, and I'm just really honored to be here. Again, my name is Keisha Sumner. Kenya and I actually have a business together called Vegan Sistas. So, we do our thing there, but I guess we'll get into that a little bit later. But as of now, I'll talk a little bit about my background. I went to school and have been, trained as in college as a chemical engineer. But when I did that, I actually went into IT consulting, and I did that for many, many years, and found myself very unsatisfied with being an IT consultant. Wasn't happy. Felt like I was kind of moving in the same place and not getting anywhere. And I love really health and wellness. And to be honest, I one thing that I noticed in our community was, and I almost hate to say it, I noticed women of color particularly Black women. And I saw that they were, and this is having not known anything about health and wellness in the beginning, just noticed that they were a little bit, appeared to be more unhealthy than their white counterparts. And so that they were a little bit bigger. And I think that really kicked off me, and this was many, many, many years ago, like 2000s, end of, 1990s. And so when I saw that, that began my this long journey into health and wellness. And my passion really, is about increasing the information out there, the right information about health and wellness, and how people can help to cure, if not, as well as reduce the illness and diseases that may exist in the world, and to them specifically. And that's, why I became a holistic health coach. And that's why I do that now. That's why I, became a Zumba instructor. That's why I went into different health and wellness businesses. That's why, I got my master's in public health. And that's why I want to ultimately be a physician, to really help the world to really see health and see food as medicine.
I love it. I think that's so incredible to hear your journey, both of you, and even how you've, in a way, come together with this passion to help people understand nutrition and food, and really how it plays a role in their health. And before we get into that, I've got to start asking some of the fun stuff. This is Dave, by the way, and I want to ask you, what was it like growing up as a twin? And I know people ask you this all the time. I used to get it all the time. What's it like being a twin? And my initial thought is, what's it like not being a twin? But ladies, tell us, what was it like growing up as twins? Was it very competitive in your spirit? Did you guys just always get along? Did you what was it like being twins growing up?
Well, this is Kenya. I can say that.
She's going to tell me.
Well, well, when we were in college, my mother always, I was more of a free spirit. So I was just trying to make it out of college. I had a lack of focus. I went to Howard with a focus and then lost that focus very early, like immediately, like very early on. And so I was focused on the wrong things. And so, but Keisha was very locked in and focused on engineering. And so my mother always knew what Keisha did. And and she never knew what I did. Like she was Keisha, my mother always knew, oh, my daughter is an engineer. And it was, for me, it was like, what are you doing now? So that was my experience in college. Growing up, I don't know that it was competitive. I know that we both kind of like the same things. Oddly enough, we both were very, very good at math. I think Keisha was a little bit more studious than I was, though. But we were both very, very good in math.
That sounds a lot like Dan and I, if you think about it, because Dan was an engineer, I was a business student, and I was very free-spirited. I still am to this day. Dan is very calculated, and I'm thinking to myself, how are we genetically the same, but we're like totally different?
Yeah. But you know what's funny? I think I'm probably more of the free spirit now. And it's funny because Kenya and I feel like we switch off personalities at times. And yeah. Kenya could attest to this. Like, she'll have a thought or a memory, and I'm like, no, Kenya, that was actually me. Or I'll
and we have to argue about it because I'm like, no, that was me.
Yeah.
And even the fact with health and wellness, like Keisha's been in this space for, like she said, since like the early 2000s and the late 90s. And I just, within the last 5 years, I've just come into this space. So.
Yeah, so I think it was more, I have to admit, and I'm so sorry, Kenya, but I would probably say growing up, I was always the one that was like, oh yeah, I'm your older sister, even though I only beat her by 3 minutes. We're still both obviously the same age. And so I always kind of lorded that over her a little bit. And I think that I think it drove us a little bit, but it was always kind of that way a little bit growing up.
That's pretty awesome. This is Danny, by the way. Dave and I, we had this healthy competition growing up as well. I remember we had this contest we did when we were at Howard University. Whoever had the lower GPA had to do the other person's laundry for the semester.
Wow.
So it wasn't fair. It wasn't fair. So here I am at Howard University doing a double major in mechanical engineering and physics, taking 26 credits every semester.
Wow.
And Dave was like, we can always change the contest. So for 3.5 years, I did his laundry.
Oh my God.
I remember,
oh my goodness.
Well, his last semester, I still had one more year of school left. I had a 4.0 and he had like a 3.85 or something like that. And so I would tell you, one of the things I did every day was wear 3 or 4 different outfits just to make sure he would wash my clothes. And remember what it felt like for me to have to do his clothes for 3.5 years. So that was the kind of competition we had when we were back at school.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Oh, that is funny.
So
I did not know that.
Kenya, real quick, the fact that you're only a few minutes apart in age, as you're growing up, even today, now that you're both adults, both successful entrepreneurs, great business owners, was there ever any pressure from society, from family members to try to be alike? I know you hinted a little bit earlier that your mother knew Keisha was an engineering student, but didn't know what you were studying in school. But were there any other pressures from society or anything else, other adults, other people that are close to you that influenced you, that made you feel like you had to be the same, or you had to have the same degree or the same success in life? Was there any type of pressure like that growing up?
I think, and thank you for the question. I think it was internal. I think it was my own. I don't believe that there was any outside external pressures, but definitely my own, because sometimes I would feel like what I needed to do, like, again, that my purpose is serving my purpose. So like I'm always thinking about that, and I'm always thinking about what I'm here for. And so sometimes I would get wrapped up in, well, maybe what I'm supposed to be doing is being a twin and serving people as a twin and doing that thing, and but then at times I'm like, well, I have my own thoughts about things too. And, maybe I don't have to use being a twin to do that, so it was me. It wasn't necessarily outside pressure to be a twin or do twin things. I think it was more internal.
Yeah, this is Keisha. I think, growing up, and I don't know if you guys experienced this, Danny and Dave, when we were younger, we had the same clothes. My mother would do was, it'd be the same clothes, but different colors. That way she could kind of tell us apart. And so I think and just like Kenya was saying, I don't think there was a lot of pressure to be the same, but I do remember and maybe recall, those times where it was kind of like, Kenya's doing this, why don't you do it? Or, Kenya's going out, why don't you go with her? Why don't you go with your sister? Be with your sister, and do things together and things of that nature. So I think there was that pressure a little bit, but not too much. I think at one point, sadly, I kind of didn't. I don't know if all twins go through this, but I didn't want to be a twin. Taboo, but I did, and I think I was in my teenage years saying I didn't want to be a twin and I want to be an individual. And I didn't realize how wonderful, it is just to be, unlike anybody, like really a lot of people. I mean, we're just like so unique, and this is just wonderful, just being a twin. So I just didn't realize it. But I think, Kenya, like Kenya was saying, I think it was probably more, a pressure upon, my own self to be, to be a little bit more like, yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. And it's true. Dan and I went through that battle. And in some ways, that's why we created a keynote speech called Identically Opposite, because we really wanted to talk about what it meant to find ourselves in the midst of who we were together. And so it is interesting. And I do appreciate you guys sharing that. That's so true, ladies, that you had to figure that out. You had to find that. But then you realize, I really love being a twin. I love that sense of I have my own individual identity, but we have an identity together. And that's why this journey of you coming to build this business together is incredible. I want to talk about that in a minute, but I want to continue to talk about being a twin here. So do you feel that as twins that shaped the way you look at life differently than, say, some of your friends from school and how they might look at life? Because in some ways for Dan and I, we try to look at it from the perspective of, okay, how do we do this together? Or how would we look at this together? But how did being a twin shape how you looked at life, future, why you ended up going to school together? These are interesting things that I think our audience would love to be able to hear.
This is Keisha. I think being a twin, there's something innate that resonates with you and that comes that's really almost a part of all of your decision making that you may not even be conscious of at some point. And so and then there are things that you are conscious of. But I think in terms of shaping my decisions and shaping how I view life and things of that nature, I think it probably more so played a role in our business. More so than anything, because coming together and doing that, I was like, we got to do this. Like, this is just amazing. What we have is amazing and unique. And if we were individuals, we could not, do this. It wouldn't pop off like it did, or like it is doing now. So we have to take advantage of that. But I think in terms of decisions, I think it's more of that unconscious bias, if anything, unconsciousness that lingers in terms of what decisions we make and, what would our twin think of this decision and, getting feedback from our twin in terms of, the decisions we make and what, bouncing off ideas. You'd have that, I guess, if you had siblings, but it'd just be a little different with being a twin.
Yeah, this is Kenya. I don't know that my opinions about, I guess, life and circumstances were necessarily shaped as because I was as twins, as like a twin perspective, but the dynamics of having sisters and brothers is vastly different in shaping how I think and how I sit in the world, exist in the world, from very different from a person who has no siblings. And like I'm married to a person who I'm married to my husband, married to my husband, and he is a single child. And so it is that dynamic that is where there may be some differences, just being, just having those different dynamics as having siblings versus not siblings.
Makes sense.
That's a great point. I like how you brought that up, because we always think about what was like growing up as twins, but sometimes I never think about what was it like growing up without any siblings and how that might be unique in their own way. So for me, and you ladies, love to hear about how you decide to join a venture together. But for me, when I decided to start my own business, and then when Dave and I decided to do a business together as well, it was more of, I had a best friend to talk to who understood my, what I call weaknesses, my insecurities about being an entrepreneur. And so I felt as if I can let my guard down and confess how vulnerable and weak I feel at this moment. Who am I to start a business as African American here in America? Who's gonna listen to me? Who's gonna want to buy stuff from me? Who's all this stuff? And Dave always told me, "What is your why?"
Yeah.
Once you realize what your why is, everything else doesn't matter. You have your reason to move forward. And so I don't know how easy it would be or how difficult it would be if you had no siblings or no one that you felt like, okay, this person knew me when I was as a young child all the way up to an adult, knows my insecurities inside and out. Yes, we have our best friends, which is great. But sometimes there's something about that sibling or even about that twin that can get at you that no one else can ever get close to being at you. And so the fact that you brought that up, Kenya, is phenomenal. I will, maybe in another episode, I'd love to understand the dynamics between you and your husband, because you always have your sister. Who does he fall back on? I mean, that's not something we got to talk about today, but that's what makes being a twin so unique and awesome.
So let me ask this then, since Dan started bringing this up, and that's so true, and he's being very modest here, ladies. You guys remember Dan from college. He's more the type A. He in many ways he guides our partnership and our relationship, and I think that's the way we've helped each other. We both have had our insecurities, weakness. We both have our strengths, and they marry well. We really work well off of each other. It doesn't mean we don't have our fights and our bumps. But we motivate each other more than I think anybody else can. And we bring the best out of each other. Sometimes we want to hurt each other, but we bring the best out of each other. And I think that only happens because of the dynamic of our relationship as twins. So tell us a little bit about why Raw Vegan Sistas. Tell us about what your thought was in building this business together and what led you guys to work together, even though you are two different states.
Go ahead, Keisha. You go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, this is Keisha. So, it's interesting because Kenya and I have been wanting to get together, I think, and do something for a long time. And I think I'll kind of step back a little bit. I think our sisters and brothers also wanted to do something too, because we come from a very creative family, extremely creative. We have 3 artists. Wow. In the family. I dance, and so I guess 4 artists, if anything else. And we're between the sciences and arts, we got that down pat. and so we had wanted to come together. And so I think when Kenya and I had, decided to come together, we were both in health and wellness, and we were doing this and it was great and all wonderful. And, when we decided, it was okay, well, let's do this. What's going to be our name? And we were coming up with names. And when this one happened, it was just like, yes. And then we put it out there and people were like, yes. And that really, fueled us. And so, I think it's the reason why is because it's just so unique being twins, having this ability to bring health and wellness to the world, and our unique proposition to the world in terms of trying to heal illness and disease and cure illness and disease and prevent illness and disease. And that's, it's pretty special and pretty unique. There's people doing it, obviously, in this space, but, just to be able to do it as twins. And, everybody loves seeing twins in social media and doing things together. I mean, there's this big thing now with people dressing up and dancing together and, doing these different things. People just love, really seeing what we can do, and then to be able to bring so much value to people, and dispelling some of those myths when it comes to health and wellness, I think is just really fuels me every day. And just to be able to share this with the world and change people's lives. I'm also an ENT, And I've worked in being a transport auntie. And, we talk a lot about these events during COVID, and, it's no joke, having to transport people who are completely 100% dependent on a ventilator for their every breath, and transporting them, taking them from their bed to a doctor's appointment and back. It's a lot. And I say that to say that, to be able to influence people to change their habits, so that their daily habits, so that they don't have to be that person that's 70 something years old on a ventilator, or it's 70 something years old and can't breathe and dependent on oxygen because they have COPD, or to be able to change and influence someone to change their daily habits so that they can live free of illness and disease. I think is just an incredible why. And I know it's an incredible why for the both of us.
Yeah. And, as the name says, raw vegan, I say, she's a little bit raw and I'm a whole lot vegan, because she does raw a lot of, a little bit more raw than I do. But we are both vegan. But yeah, Keisha too, this is Kenya speaking, Keisha, to your point. I just told my mother yesterday. So I run basically just about every day, but at least 5 to 7 times a week, I'm moving. I exercise, and that's like so important to me. And it's important for my body, like in order to to like be coherent and not have to deal with some anxiety issues that I have. I have to move. I have to break a sweat. I have to do something. And I think everybody should. But I was just telling my mother yesterday that I'm going to be running until, I'm 100. Because I don't want to be committed to I don't want to be committed to anybody's, I don't want to be wheelchair bound. I don't want, if I can help it, have anybody depend, I don't want to have some dependence on anything. I don't want a cane. My purpose in having this diet and being raw vegan or being vegan is so that when that time comes where we're a little bit more, we're older and things start to slow down and things begin to not be so there's no stretch anymore. It's tougher, and I hope to be able to have this diet and so that I can extend that longevity and just be around. So being raw vegan sisters is helpful towards that, and having that, showing people that look to your health now before a crisis comes. Like we can all prevent this. We can all prevent a lot of things. We can all help we can all help our bodies and help ourselves and help our wellness and help our health before it becomes a crisis. And when you know better, you do better.
Yep. I love that you said, take care of your health now. That is so true. And it's that preventative medicine in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
This is Danny. I think when I hear about the reason why you guys are doing what you're doing, the business, the Raw Vegan Sisters, running every day, these are all the reasons that fuel you. You don't need any self-motivation. You don't need someone to call you every day. Hey, did you make a sales call, or did you do something to push your business further? This is your life. This is who you are. I think that's phenomenal. You look at the future and you say, what do I need to do to work backwards? I think so many times, as Dave and I were talking the other day, when it comes to our personal health, you can pay the price later, or you can pay the price now. And people look at food and say, wow, it's expensive to eat healthy. Well, it's going to be a lot more expensive to treat your body in the future.
and the way they treat your body in the future is invasive. And so you have a choice. So the fact that you're able to see an end goal and work backwards and then come together with your sister, and that you both have this passion to move forward, even to the point where you created a business together all about this passion, is phenomenal. I think sometimes we look at our present situation, we don't think about the future. We just think about, okay, I'm suffering right now. But if we think about where do I want to be in the future, and then work backwards and start taking the necessary steps today, the future will ultimately become today. So you two ladies have decided that health, wellness, fitness, diet is going to be the way that you're going to live. You didn't say, okay, we'll do it 10 years from now. Right. Well, we have this dream to one day do something together. I think that's what being twins does. You can be apart, different cities. You can have different relationships. My twin brother, David, was married way before I was, had kids way before I did. His kids are in college. My kids are still in middle school. So it doesn't matter what area of life differs. For some reason, we always are drawn back to each other to do something together. And I don't know if we do that because we want to be close. I don't know if we do that because we missed the bond that we had every single day, but something always draws us back together. And I think for me, I want to expound a little bit more about this journey, your health journey. You talked about the business. You spoke about your passion, why. So because you're doing a business together, and this might be a little hint, who takes the lead? Who maybe you're both the voice, but who takes the lead? Because I know for David and myself, I can be hard-headed and want to be the leader, but I know that Dave does a better job in representing our business to the community than I do, but we always go back and forth. I mean, for you two ladies, who takes the lead?
Keisha, this is Kenya. But Keisha certainly does. She definitely does. And sometimes I have to lean on her really, really, really hard. But she's the type A between both of us. She definitely does. Because there were some times where I honestly, I had some anxiety issues and I just couldn't step up. And I was like, I'm sorry, but I'm just not feeling really great today. I need you to step in. And she did. So I would, and she continues. So she definitely stepped up, is the one who's leading the ship.
But this is Keisha, but it's really interesting because when Kenya and I were coming together and we were talking about, things we were going to do and, what we were going to do and how we were going to run things, I don't know, and I'm going to dote on Kenya a little bit. I don't really know if Kenya really understands how incredible her mind is when it comes to our business. Like, if Kenya can say that I lead and that I am the one that's kind of running the ship more so, whatever. But if it wasn't for Kenya's ideas and the things that we have, we wouldn't have been able to do what we've been doing. Like, the ideas and the knowledge that Kenya has brought to the table, I wouldn't have been able to be the one that takes charge sometimes if Kenya didn't have the ideas that I'm acting on. So it's great to say, Keisha takes the lead sometimes, but man, I'm telling you, I wouldn't be able to do anything if it wasn't for the ideas that Kenya brought to the table. And Kenya's uniqueness to this business is that she has been in production and she's done the media thing and has an extensive vocabulary and extensive knowledge about that. So all of that she brings to the table. My God, like it's amazing.
Isn't that amazing? This is Danny, by the way, how nobody can love your twin, hype up your twin, look up to your twin better than your own twin.
Right.
I see myself doing that all the time when I speak to people and I tell people about my identical twin brother's public speaking business, how he has an online program to help executives be able to position themselves to be more proficient in their speech, to be more eloquent in their speech. And as I'm hearing Keisha talk about Kenya, I'm thinking to myself, wow, that's the same thing that my brother and I do to each other all the time. We adore each other. We are very proud of each other. And I can see, Keisha, as you're talking, I see you're smiling, and I can see your eyes just like, man, my sister's amazing. and I think, wow, that's so cool how we can do that to each other and not even realize that this is how we really feel passionately inside.
Yeah.
This kind of leads me to my next question. And I think this is very interesting. So the fact that I was able to tell people about my twin brother and his business and how he speaks all the time, I keep thinking about myself back in college, back at Howard. Keisha, you have always been outbound, outspoken, different clubs, different committees and things like that, especially with the IEEE and the NESB and all these other groups that we were part of the School of Engineering. But I also think about the fact that you guys started a business together and you're doing this whole journey, that unique journey. As you're doing all of this, is there ever a moment in time where somebody looks at you two and say, can you speak? Can you come to our community? Can you help teach a class? Can you help educate other women? Has this ever come up between the two of you? And have you been asked to speak publicly? What is that like? How has that improved your skill set? Because you already have a passion. It's one thing to tell somebody, hey, go speak in front of these leaders and go give a topic that no one really knows about. Maybe you can speak about it. We don't know. Just go speak about this topic. But you guys lived the life. You lived the journey. You started the business together. Has the community asked the two of you, either through virtual meetings, on site, hey, can you come speak? Can you come present? Can you come educate? What was that like for the two of you?
Well, actually, we did have the opportunity, but COVID hit. So we actually had someone, a friend of mine that I was in graduate school with. She saw what Kenya and I were doing, and she had a contact for women who were just leaving or have been released from jail. So they're coming back into the community and trying to, reacclimate themselves. And, one of the things that was important to them was their health and wellness. And so we were supposed to speak to them in June or July. And, unfortunately, it was supposed to be in person, but unfortunately, that was the first opportunity that we would have done something together. But we haven't really had that unique opportunity to speak together. Kenya has done, I believe, some individual ones, and I've also done some individual talks, but we haven't had a chance to come together just yet. But I'm pretty sure that we will.
Yeah, we had just started to gain some footing in with our Facebook Lives. This when COVID hit. So a lot of this is new.
COVID messed everything.
That happens, and I think you will get, without a doubt, ladies, more opportunities to speak together, and maybe even virtually to speak together. And so for Dan and I, we are actually trying to rebrand, and that's why we switched the name of our podcast, The Twins Talk It Up, because we want to be able to have more opportunities to do things together. And I think people want to hear that message. And Keisha, you even stated this earlier. People love hearing from twins, and it's just something about it that draws people closer. So let me ask this question, and I'm glad you are going to find opportunities. And if we do come across them, we want to have you guys speaking for sure. But when you think about your journey and you think about the business together, what are some lessons that you've learned that you can share with our audience and the listeners that maybe they haven't thought about wanting to start a business, but now they're thinking about it? Or maybe they have aspirations to be able to use their platform to share their ideas and thoughts. But what are some lessons that you would love to share with our audience that you've learned along the years and eventually forming this business together?
This is Kenya. Just do it. If you have that gut feeling, and people say, people say it's the gut, but it's also what God that you serve is speaking to you. It's just, you don't get a gut reaction for everything. You know what I'm saying? But if you're being led Like, and you know you're being led. People can dismiss dismiss things, but you have to, in order to dismiss it, you have to know that you have it.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're being led to do something, when you're being led to do a business, when you're being led to create or to do something, do it scared. I know this do it scared thing, you know, like not everybody can do it. I just want to impress upon people to just do it and do it scared. And I know the doing scared is scary. And I know I've been held back by my fears, but they're all up here.
Yeah, it's true.
All of the fears are up here. Like it boggles my mind sometimes when I'm scared to do things. And I'm just like, but why couldn't I? Like, and then you have to step back outside of yourself and think about it as something that you are serving to somebody. Somebody's waiting on you to do what you have been called to do.
That's it.
Just do it.
Yep.
You know, sometimes it's not, you gotta if you're scared, then step back and think about all the other people that are just waiting on you to just do what you got to do.
Go ahead and preach, sis. Go ahead. I love it.
I mean, like, it sometimes it's so simple. It's that simple, but like, I don't know. I wish I wish people could just hear that.
You pushed us, didn't you? Push us, Kenya. You pushed us. Like, hey, why don't you have your public speaking platform up and running? Where's your podcast at?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
okay.
do it. You know, like,
did it.
It is that leading that is not going anywhere. It's not. And like I said, I really do feel like people need to understand that it's not about them.
Yep.
So yeah.
You know, this is Keisha speaking. You know, Kenya took the words right out of my mouth. I heard a long time ago that the graves are full of potential. Yeah. And my biggest fear is to go to the grave and not have fulfilled my potential. And Kenya said it right. There are people literally, and the Bible talks about this, they are waiting for the sons of God. They're waiting for us to do what we have to do in order for them to receive, to get blessing, to get whatever they need. And if we're not there to meet them, then we could be standing in their way. Imagine not being in a place that we're supposed to be because we decided, and just like Kenya said, it's all up here. It is all up here. We decided to shrink back, or we decided that we weren't going to step out, that we were in the mode of getting ready to get ready. Because that's what a lot of people do. And you guys know this, getting ready to get ready, getting ready to get ready, getting ready to get ready. I'm going to put my website up, but I'm not going to put my social media posts. I'm not going to tell nobody about it. I'm going to get email address, but I'm not going to tell anybody about it. You know, so like, we're just in this, I'm gonna get a bank account, but I'm not gonna tell. Like, we're just in this ready to get ready movement or moment, and we just don't do anything. And it's just like Kenya said, it's scary. But if we have that passion will not let us go, and our passion will make way, and our passion will move us to do something. And it's interesting how when your passion, when you're so passionate about something, how different things around you will come up and will mysteriously, I don't want to say mysteriously, will interestingly enough be presented to you so that you will have an opportunity to move forward in your passion. So yeah, just like Kenya said, just do it. If you're gonna fail, you're gonna fail.
Okay.
But go ahead and do it.
That's right.
And I want to touch on another lesson, the lesson of being so perfect or trying to be so perfect that you block yourself, that you procrastinate because you're trying to cross all of your T's and dot all of your I's when it's still an I if it doesn't have a dot. You can still figure out the word it without a dot, but you'll never be able to, if you don't stall your progress because you're trying to be perfect, because there is nothing such as being there's nothing perfect.
Yeah.
It stalls it stalls what you have to offer and what you have to give to somebody who's waiting for you to give it, if you're so concerned about, not having a website or not having this or you don't know anything about social media. I don't know anything about social media. How can I still be in business? Well, it's possible. You have a phone. I would hope even if you don't have a phone, guess what? You can borrow somebody else's. The point is that not to stall what you're being called or led to do.
Mm-hmm.
You can't let anything stop. You can't let it stop you just because you may feel like you're inadequate, which is how would you know if you're inadequate if you don't do it?
Yeah.
How do you know that how do you know you'll fail at it if you don't do it? And Quibi, I know this is dating us, but just recently Quibi, which was a platform that was that had shows that existed only for your cell phone. Okay, so it was a network. It was a network, but it was only the shows that you can only get the shows like on your cell phone. Well, it folded, and only after 6 months of being in business, everybody, celebrity and their mother, had a Quibi show, but it folded, and they invested a lot, like over $1 billion in this platform. And I don't see it as a failure. I think Quibi was just ahead of their time. I think this is all going to come. I think a couple of years later, in a couple of years, I don't know how many, but in a couple of years, I think that, people will be looking to Quibi and being in a source of inspiration. But I say that to say is that even that they had all the good intentions, they crossed their T's and they dotted their I's, but they had a vision and they did it. And even though they threw over $1 billion into this thing, it still went belly up. But I think everybody can walk away from Quibi feeling like there was still some value there.
Yeah, I can see that. And I agree with what you're saying. You got to just go for it. Can't be afraid to try. And even if you are afraid, do it anyways. And as you mentioned earlier, don't try to be perfect. You can't try to be perfect. That spirit of what we call imposter syndrome is real, but you've got to be able to go beyond that. You've got to push through that. And I really believe, as you mentioned earlier, there might be someone out there who needs what you got. So why not give it out there? What are some ways, or how can people find you if they want to be able to say, I need some help, I need some insight, or I want to bring you guys on to speak for us? How do they find the Raw Vegan Sistas? How do they find you?
So this is Kenya. We do have an Instagram page titled Raw Vegan Sistas, and Sistas is spelled Sistas. And so you can find us there on Instagram. You can find us also on Facebook at Raw Vegan Sistas as well. And then
Awesome.
and then like I individually have my Facebook page that I actually use, where I actually use my my married name, but Kenya-Marie Farmer. But But I'm also on Instagram individually too, Kenya_Sumner. And I have a kenyasumner.com website.
Yep, you can find again us at Raw Vegan Sistas on all platforms, and you can find me individually at Keisha Sumner on all platforms too.
Well, ladies, it's been a joy having you here. It is always a pleasure to be able to connect, and I feel very honored because we all went to school together. We've known each other for a long time. And it fit perfectly on the platform. This is a platform focusing on leadership and communications. And to have some entrepreneurs on here sharing their experiences is such a joy. And so on behalf of my twin brother and co-host, Danny Brown, we want to thank you ladies for joining us on the Twins Talk It Up podcast, where we really want to encourage and inspire entrepreneurs out there, professionals and executives alike, to be able to use their platform to increase their speaking skills and grow in their influence and bring greater value to their world, their business, and their family. So thank you, ladies, for joining us. We look forward to having you back on again. And please, if you're interested in our podcast, interested in our journey, go ahead and subscribe. Hit the 5-star rating, give it a 5-star rating, give it a great review, and even consider coming back as a Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/DSB Leadership Speaking and sponsor this and even come on and get a commercial spot. So thank you again for joining us, ladies. You're awesome. We look forward to having more conversations, and we look forward to you continuing to join us again on the Twins Talking Up podcast.
Thank you.